Sign the papers, Ethan. Sign them and get out of my daughter's house. What exactly did you contribute to this family?
Sign the papers, Ethan. Sign them and get out of my daughter's house. Tell me something, Ethan. What exactly did you contribute to this family? Because from where I'm standing, my daughter carried you for 6 years, and now that she's gone, you have nothing. You are nothing. Those words hit Ethan like a blow. He didn't expect such from people he called family. Have you ever lost everything twice? First to death, then to the living? That's the kind of pain that reshapes you at the cellular level. The kind that makes you question whether justice is real or just something we tell ourselves to sleep at night. But here's what I've learned. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it burns down everything around you first, and you have to decide if you're strong enough to stand in the ashes. Hey everyone, how are you doing today? Whether you're watching from your living room, on your commute, or wherever life has you right now, I hope you're ready for this one. Welcome to Mason's Story Vault, where we bring you real stories about family, betrayal, and the kind of redemption that hits you right in the chest. Stories about people who lost everything and clawed their way back to something better. Before we dive in, do me a favor. If you're into stories that make you feel something real, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if this story moves you. And comment below. Tell me what you think, where you're watching from, or share a time when family let you down. Your engagement keeps these stories coming. And trust me, you're going to want to hear how this one ends. But let me start from the beginning. Ethan Reeves was 29 years old when his world ended the first time. He was standing in the international terminal at the airport, holding 2 teddy bears he'd bought for his 4-year-old twins, when the news alert flashed across the departure screen. Flight 2847 to Seattle had gone down over the Pacific. No survivors. His wife Nina had been on that plane, returning from a business conference in Tokyo. They'd talked that morning. She'd FaceTimed the twins, made them promise to be good for Daddy, told them she'd bring back presents. Her last words to Ethan were, "I love you. Take care of our babies." 14 hours later, she was gone. Ethan believed in marriage the way some people believe in religion. He meant every word of his vows, for better or worse, in sickness and in health. He and Nina had met in college, 2 kids from modest backgrounds who wanted to build something beautiful together. She went into marketing. He became a physical therapist. They weren't rich, but they were happy. They had Sunday pancakes and movie nights, and 2 perfect kids who had Nina's smile. When Nina died, Ethan thought the grief would kill him. The funeral was a blur. Nina's parents, Gregory and Diane Castellano, handled everything. They paid for the service, arranged the flowers, invited people Ethan had never met. He was grateful at first. He was drowning, and they seemed to throw him a rope. The first crack appeared 3 days after the funeral. Gregory showed up at the house without calling. He let himself in with a key Ethan didn't know he had. "We need to talk about the estate," Gregory said. "No greeting. No, how are the kids? Just business." Ethan was sitting on the floor of the living room, trying to get Daniel to eat crackers. The boy hadn't had a full meal in days. Estate? Nina didn't have an estate. We had some savings, life insurance through her job. Gregory looked around the house like he was appraising it. This property was purchased with funds Nina inherited from her grandmother. That makes it part of the family estate. According to our attorney, it reverts to us. Ethan's brain couldn't process the words. "What are you talking about? We bought this house together. Both our names are on the mortgage. The down payment came from Nina's inheritance. Without that, you never would have qualified for the loan." Gregory's voice was flat, mechanical. "Legally, this is Castellano family property. We're prepared to let you stay for 30 days while you make other arrangements." "Other arrangements?" Ethan stood up. "Gregory, this is our home. This is where your grandchildren live. That's not my problem." Gregory walked to the door. "You have until the end of the month. After that, we're filing eviction paperwork. Nina would want her children raised properly, not by someone who lived off her income. The door closed. Ethan called a lawyer. The consultation was free. The news was not. If the down payment came from her separate property and you can't prove otherwise, they have a case, the attorney said. Do you have documentation showing it was a gift? Anything in writing? Ethan didn't. It had never occurred to him that Nina's parents would try to take his home. What about my kids? They're Nina's children. Doesn't that matter? The lawyer looked uncomfortable. In terms of the property? Not really. If you can't afford to fight this in court, you're probably going to lose. Fighting would cost money Ethan didn't have. Nina's life insurance was tied up in processing. Their savings had gone to funeral costs. Ethan's salary barely covered daycare and groceries. On day 26, Diane came to the house. She walked in without knocking and found Ethan packing boxes. I hope you're not taking anything that belonged to Nina, she said. Ethan turned slowly. I'm packing their clothes and toys. Nina bought most of those toys. For our children. My daughter's children. Diane stepped closer. You need to understand something, Ethan. We never approved of you. Nina could have married someone from her own background. Instead, she chose you, and she worked herself to exhaustion supporting this household. Ethan's hands clenched. Get out. Excuse me. Get out of this house. You made it clear you don't want us here. Fine. We're leaving. But don't you dare rewrite history. Diane's face hardened. You'll regret speaking to me that way. You're nothing now. A single father with no family and no resources. If you want any chance of seeing these children, you'll watch your tone. She left. On day 30, Ethan loaded everything he owned into his old sedan. The Castellanos had their lawyer present to make sure he didn't take anything they considered Nina's property. They argued about photo albums, about a blanket Nina had crocheted while pregnant. They took it all. Ethan drove away with his children, 3 suitcases, and a box of toys. He had $847 in his checking account and nowhere to go. The first night, they stayed in a cheap motel. The twins thought it was an adventure. Ethan ordered pizza and did the math. At this rate, he had about 3 weeks before he was completely broke. He applied for emergency housing assistance. The waiting list was 4 months long. Most shelters didn't accept families. The ones that did were full. On night 5, he found a family shelter with an opening. 1 room, shared bathroom down the hall. It was temporary, they said. Lily cried because she missed her room. Daniel stopped talking almost entirely. On day 43 after Nina's death, Ethan was at the shelter when his phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Ethan Reeves? Yes. Mr. Reeves, my name is Patricia Okonkwo. I'm an attorney representing the estate of Thomas Loron. I've been trying to reach you regarding an urgent matter concerning your late wife, Nina Castellano. Ethan's stomach dropped. If this is about the house, the Castellanos already took it. This isn't about the house. This is about something Nina discovered before her death. Something that changes everything. Patricia paused. I need to meet with you as soon as possible. This concerns your children's inheritance. Ethan looked at his kids coloring with broken crayons at a donated table. What kind of inheritance? The kind that makes what the Castellanos took look like pocket change. But we need to discuss this in person. There are legal issues that need immediate attention. Fine. Tomorrow at noon. Bring identification and any documentation you have regarding your marriage to Nina. Your wife stumbled onto a family secret right before she died. She didn't have time to tell you, but she made sure you'd find out. The line went dead. The next day, Ethan sat in Patricia's downtown office. The building was the kind of place where everyone looked like they belonged except him. Patricia was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes that had seen every variation of human greed. She got straight to the point. How much did your wife tell you about her family history? Not much. Her parents came from money, real estate development going back generations. She had a trust fund from her grandmother. What? Patricia slid a document across the desk. 3 months before her death, Nina ordered a DNA ancestry test. The results came back 2 weeks before the plane crash. Ethan picked up the paper covered in genetic markers he didn't understand. Okay, the DNA test revealed that Gregory Castellano is not Nina's biological father. The words hung in the air. That's impossible, Ethan said. Nina looked just like him. People see what they expect to see. The genetic evidence is clear. Gregory shares no paternal DNA with your wife. Patricia pulled out another document. After Nina received these results, she hired a private investigator. She was scheduled to meet with me the week after she returned from Tokyo to discuss the findings. What findings? Patricia handed him a folder containing old photographs, birth certificates, and hospital records. Nina's biological father was a man named Thomas Loron. He was a developer, but on a much larger scale than Gregory. In 1994, Thomas had an affair with Diane Castellano. When Diane became pregnant, she and Gregory made a choice. They would raise the child as Gregory's, keep the affair quiet, and Thomas would stay out of their lives. Ethan stared at a photograph of a man he'd never seen before. Thomas had Nina's real smile. What? Gregory was infertile. The affair gave them what they wanted without the social embarrassment. Thomas agreed because he was married and didn't want the scandal. He paid Diane a substantial sum for her silence, and everyone moved on. Everyone except Nina. Correct. Nina was devastated when she found out. She confronted Diane, who admitted everything. They had a terrible argument. Diane begged her not to tell Gregory. Nina agreed to keep quiet until she could figure out what to do. Ethan's hand shook. She never told me. We talked every day. She was processing, trying to understand her entire identity had been built on a lie. Patricia paused. Mr. Reeves, Thomas Loron died 6 months ago. He never remarried, never had other children. According to his will, which I also handled, his entire estate was to be held in trust for any biological descendants. The air left Ethan's lungs. Nina's dead, but her children aren't. Lily and Daniel are Thomas Lawrence's biological grandchildren, his only biological grandchildren. Patricia slid a final document across the desk. The estate is valued at approximately $42 million. It all goes to your twins. Ethan couldn't speak. There's more, Patricia said. The Castellanos don't know any of this. As far as they're aware, Gregory is Nina's legal father, which means they believe they have claim to any inheritance through her. But they don't. Correct. Gregory has no biological relationship to Nina, which means he has no claim to her biological family's estate. Why are you telling me this now? Ethan asked. Because the Castellanos filed a claim against Thomas Lawrence's estate last week. They found out about his death through business channels and assumed Nina was entitled to inherit. They're arguing that since Nina is deceased, her estate should pass to them as her next of kin. Can they do that? Not if we prove Nina wasn't Thomas's legal daughter, but his biological one, and that her legal parents have no claim. We need to file on behalf of the twins immediately. Patricia's face darkened. But if we reveal the DNA evidence, we destroy Gregory's entire identity as Nina's father. We expose Diane's affair. This becomes public record. The Castellanos will fight back. They have money and connections. This would get ugly. Ethan thought about Daniel's silence, about Lily's tears, about sleeping in a shelter. How fast can we file? He asked. Patricia smiled. I have the paperwork ready. I just needed your consent as the twins' guardian. Ethan signed. He signed his name next to his children's names, claiming an inheritance from a grandfather who'd never held them. He signed away any chance of peace with the Castellanos. He signed a declaration of war. What happens now? Now we wait for their response. They'll be served with notice that their claim is being contested. They'll see the DNA evidence. And then your in-laws are going to realize they just made a very expensive mistake. Ethan left the office and sat in his car for 10 minutes. His phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. We need to talk. Diana Castellano. She'd found out. Against his better judgment, Ethan agreed to meet her at a coffee shop. Diane was already there, looking smaller than he'd ever seen her. Patricia called me as a courtesy, Diane said. Is it true? Did Nina really take a DNA test? Yes. And she found out about Thomas? Yes. Diane closed her eyes. Did she hate me? At the end, I don't know. She didn't tell me any of this. Ethan leaned forward. You lied to her for 30 years. You let her believe Gregory was her father. And when she died, you threw her children out of their home. So I don't care if she hated you. I care about Lily and Daniel. That's it. Gregory doesn't know, Diane said suddenly. About the affair, about Thomas, about any of it. When he sees this filing, when the DNA evidence comes out, it will destroy him. Then you should have thought about that before you kicked us out. That was Gregory's decision. I tried to stop him. You were there. You let it happen. Ethan stood up. Your time is up. Wait. Diane stopped just short of touching him. What if we make a deal? What if I convince Gregory to give you back the house, to help with expenses? We could set up a trust for the children. You don't have to destroy our family. Your family destroyed itself the day you decided lies were more important than truth. She loved you, Diane said. Nina, whatever else was wrong, she really did love you. She told me once that you were the only honest thing in her life. Ethan didn't turn around. If she loved me, she would have told me the truth. But you raised her to keep secrets, didn't you? He walked out. 2 days later, the legal response came. But it didn't come from the Castellanos' lawyer. It came from Gregory himself. He showed up at the shelter. Ethan was helping Lily with her homework in the common room when the director approached. Someone's here to see you. I told them to wait outside. Gregory stood in the parking lot, looking at the building like it was a foreign country. When he saw Ethan, something in his face crumbled. Is it true? Gregory asked. His voice was barely a whisper. The DNA test. Is it real? Ethan had prepared for anger, for threats, not for this broken man in front of him. Yes. Gregory's legs seemed to give out. He leaned against his car. Diane told me everything this morning. The affair. The money she took to keep quiet. He looked up at Ethan. Nina wasn't my daughter. Biologically. No. I raised her. I was there when she was born. I taught her to ride a bike. I walked her down the aisle at your wedding. Gregory's voice cracked, and none of it was real. It was real to Nina, Ethan said quietly. She didn't know the truth until 3 months before she died. Did she hate me? I don't know. She never got the chance to tell me. Gregory was silent for a long moment. Diane said you're claiming Thomas's estate for the twins. Yes. That money should have been Nina's. If she'd lived, she would have inherited it. But she didn't live. And you threw her children onto the street. Ethan's voice hardened. You told me I wasn't good enough for her. You took our home. You took her things. You said I lived off her income while you were living off a lie for 30 years. I didn't know about the lie. That doesn't change what you did to us after she died. Gregory straightened up. You're right. I was angry. I blamed you for her death because I needed someone to blame. I couldn't accept that I'd lost my daughter to something random and meaningless. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. This is the deed to the house. I'm signing it over to you. No conditions. Consider it back rent for the 4 years. I thought I was Nina's father, but apparently wasn't entitled to be. Ethan didn't take the envelope. I don't want her guilt offering. It's not for you. It's for Lily and Daniel. They deserve to have their home back. Gregory set the envelope on the hood of his car. I'm not fighting the estate claim. Patricia can have whatever documentation she needs. The twins are Thomas's biological grandchildren. The money should be theirs. Just like that, You're giving up. What am I fighting for? A daughter who wasn't mine? An inheritance I have no right to. Gregory's laugh was bitter. I've spent the last 2 days going through every memory I have of Nina, trying to figure out what was real. Her first word, her graduation, the day she told me she was pregnant with the twins. Were any of those moments really mine? Or was I just playing a role in someone else's story? You were her father, Ethan said. DNA doesn't change that. You raised her. You were there. That's what being a parent means. Then why does it feel like I've lost her twice? Once to the plane crash, and once to the truth. Ethan had no answer. Gregory got in his car. Before he drove away, he rolled down the window. Take care of them. Lily and Daniel. They're the only part of Nina I have left, and I just realized I have no right to them either. He left. Ethan picked up the envelope. Inside was the deed to the house, signed and notarized. A sticky note in Gregory's handwriting read, "I'm sorry. For everything." The next 3 weeks were legal chaos. Patricia filed motion after motion, each one peeling back another layer of the Castellano family's carefully constructed lies. Diane's non-disclosure agreement with Thomas Laurent came to light. Financial records showing the payments she'd received. Email exchanges between Nina and her mother in the weeks before the plane crash. In one email, Nina had written, "How do I tell my husband that my entire life has been a performance? That the family I thought I came from doesn't actually exist? I don't even know who I am anymore." Diane had responded, "You don't tell him. You protect your father. You protect this family. Some truths are better left buried." Nina had never responded to that email. 3 days later, she'd boarded the flight to Tokyo. Ethan read the emails in Patricia's office and felt something break inside him. Nina had been drowning in secrets, and he'd had no idea. He'd kissed her goodbye that morning, told her to have a safe flight, and missed every sign that she was falling apart. "This isn't your fault," Patricia said gently. "I was her husband. I should have known something was wrong. She was protecting you and the children. She didn't want to drag you into this mess until she understood it herself. But that didn't make it hurt less." The media got hold of the story. Local news ran headlines about the Castellano family scandal. Business associates started asking questions. Gregory's reputation took hit after hit as people learned he'd raised a child who wasn't biologically his while his wife carried on an affair. Diane went into hiding. She stopped answering calls, stopped appearing in public. The woman who'd built her entire identity on social standing and family legacy watched it all crumble. And Ethan felt nothing. He thought revenge would feel good, that watching the Castellanos suffer would somehow balance the scales. But it just felt empty. The twins asked about their grandparents. Lily wanted to know why Grandpa Gregory looked so sad the last time she saw him. Daniel asked if they'd done something wrong, if that's why Grandma Diane didn't visit anymore. Ethan didn't know how to explain that sometimes adults hurt each other in ways that children shouldn't have to understand. 6 weeks after Patricia filed the estate claim, she called Ethan with news. "The judge ruled in our favor. The DNA evidence is irrefutable. Thomas Lawrence's estate will be transferred to a trust for Lily and Daniel. You'll be the trustee until they turn 18. $42 million. It was real. There's something else," Patricia said. "Gregory wants to set up a separate trust for the twins. From his own assets. He's not trying to buy forgiveness or claim rights. He just wants to make sure they're provided for. He doesn't have to do that. I told him that. He said he knows. He's doing it anyway." Ethan sat in his car outside the daycare, watching through the window as his kids played with blocks. They were laughing. They'd started laughing again. The shelter had found them temporary housing in a small apartment. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. The twins had their own room. Daniel was starting to talk again, and now they were millionaires. Ethan called Gregory. The man answered on the first ring. "Thank you," Ethan said. For the house. For the trust. You didn't have to do any of it. Yes, I did. Gregory's voice was tired. I can't change what I did after Nina died. I can't take back the things I said. But I can try to do right by her children. They ask about you. Lily especially. She doesn't understand why you don't visit. There was a long silence. I don't have the right to be in their lives anymore. That's not true. You're still their grandfather. DNA doesn't change that. Doesn't it? The law says I'm not family. The estate ruling proves it. The law is about money and property. It's not about love. Ethan took a breath. Nina loved you. I saw her with you at holidays, at the twins' birthday parties. She called you Dad. That was real. Was it? Or was she just playing the role she thought she was supposed to play? Does it matter? She chose to love you. Every day, she chose it. That's more real than any DNA test. Gregory's breath hitched. I miss her so much. So do I. Can I see them? The twins? I know I don't deserve it. I know I hurt you. But I just want to see them. Ethan thought about all the reasons to say no. About protecting his children from people who'd hurt them. About drawing boundaries and maintaining distance. Then he thought about Nina. About the kind of person she'd been. The kind of mother who taught their kids to forgive, to see the good in people, to choose love even when it was hard. Sunday afternoon, Ethan said, "We're having lunch at the park. You should come." The trust was finalized on a Tuesday morning. Patricia walked Ethan through the documents, explaining how the money would be managed, what he could access for the twins' care and education, what would be held until they were adults. "This changes everything for them," she said. "College is paid for. Medical care. Whatever they need. They'll never have to worry about money the way you did. It doesn't bring their mother back. No, but it honors what she wanted. She was researching her biological family because she wanted to understand where she came from. She wanted that connection for her children. This gives them that." That Sunday, Ethan took Lily and Daniel to the park. He'd told them Grandpa Gregory was coming, and they'd been excited all morning. They didn't remember the eviction, didn't understand the legal battles. They just knew they missed their grandfather. Gregory arrived with gifts. Nothing extravagant, just small things. A coloring book for Lily. A toy truck for Daniel. He sat on the grass with them and listened to their stories about preschool and their new apartment and the cat they wanted to get. Ethan watched from the bench and saw a man who was trying, who was broken but showing up anyway. Diane didn't come. Patricia had informed her that while Gregory was willing to rebuild a relationship with the children, Diane's presence wasn't welcome. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Some betrayals took longer to forgive. But Gregory was different. Gregory had been lied to just like Nina had. He'd made terrible choices in his grief, but he was trying to make it right. "Daddy, can Grandpa come for dinner?" Lily asked, running over with leaves she'd collected. Ethan looked at Gregory, who was helping Daniel climb the jungle gym. The man who'd thrown them out. The man who'd called them worthless. The man who was trying to be better. "Yeah, sweetheart, Grandpa can come for dinner." Over the next few months, they built a new kind of normal. Gregory visited every Sunday. He never asked for more, never pushed for custody or rights. He just showed up and loved his grandchildren in whatever way they'd allow. He and Ethan never became close. Too much had happened for that. But they developed a careful respect, an understanding that they were both trying to do right by the two kids who connected them. The house deed was transferred back to Ethan's name. He moved the twins back into their home, back into rooms that still held memories of their mother. It hurt and healed at the same time. Thomas Lawrence's estate was invested wisely. The twins would grow up comfortable but not spoiled. Ethan made sure of that. He kept working, kept providing, kept showing them that money didn't define worth. On the first anniversary of Nina's death, Ethan took Lily and Daniel to her grave. They brought flowers and drawings they'd made. Gregory was there too, standing at a distance until Ethan waved him over. They stood together, this broken family, and remembered the woman who'd connected them all. "I found something," Gregory said quietly. He handed Ethan an envelope. "It was in Nina's things. I should have given it to you a year ago, but I was angry. I am sorry." Inside was a letter. Nina's handwriting. "My dearest Ethan, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I need you to know that everything I'm about to tell you, I kept from you to protect you and our children until I understood it myself. By now, you probably know the truth about my biological father. I'm sorry I didn't tell you in person. I was scared. Scared of what it meant. Scared of losing the family I thought I had. But I need you to know that you, Lily and Daniel, are my real family. You're the only thing that's ever been completely true in my life. If there's money, if there's an inheritance from Thomas Laurent, use it for our babies. Give them the security and honesty I never had. And please, if you can, forgive my parents. They're flawed and they made terrible choices, but they're also the only parents I've ever known. I love you. Take care of our children. Tell them their mother loved them more than anything in this broken world. Forever yours, Nina." Ethan read the letter twice. Then a third time. Nina had known. She prepared for this. She tried to protect all of them, even from beyond the grave. "She forgave you," Ethan said to Gregory. "Before she even knew what you'd do, she forgave you." Gregory's tears fell silently. 2 years later, Ethan stood in the backyard of the house he'd almost lost, watching his 6-year-old twins play with the puppy they'd finally gotten. The adoption papers had gone through last month. A rescue dog with 3 legs and a heart full of love. The kids named him Thomas. Patricia had called that morning with the final accounting. The trust was performing well. The twins' future was secure. College funds, medical care, a foundation Nina would have been proud of. Gregory was inside, helping set up for Daniel's birthday party. He came every week now, sometimes more. He'd sold the family business, downsized his life, focused on being present for his grandchildren. He'd never be perfect. He carried guilt that wouldn't fade. But he was trying, and that counted for something. Diane had reached out once, asking to see the children. Ethan had said no. Maybe someday, when the twins were old enough to understand the full story and make their own choice. But not yet. Some forgiveness took time. Ethan had started dating someone, a teacher at the twins' school. It was slow and careful, but it felt right. Nina would have liked her, would have wanted him to be happy again. He still missed his wife every single day, still wondered what their life would have looked like if she'd lived. If she'd told him the truth about Thomas, if they'd faced it together. But he learned something important. You can't build a life on what-ifs. You can only work with what is. And what was pretty good. 2 beautiful kids who were happy and healthy. A home filled with love. A family that had been broken and was slowly healing. Money that would give his children opportunities he'd never had. And the truth. Finally, the complete truth. That night, after the party ended and the kids were asleep, Ethan sat on the porch with Gregory. "She'd be proud of them," Gregory said. "Nina, she'd be proud of who they're becoming. She'd be proud of you too," Ethan replied. "For showing up, for doing the work." "I don't know about that. Edo, it's easy to run from mistakes. It's harder to face them." They sat in comfortable silence. 2 men connected by loss and love and the memory of a woman who'd been more than either of them understood. Inside, the twins slept peacefully. Outside, the future waited, complicated and uncertain and full of possibility. And Ethan was ready for it. So that's the story. A man who lost everything, discovered the truth, and found a way to build something new from the wreckage. What do you think? Was Gregory's redemption earned? Should Ethan forgive Diane? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from you. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe to Mason's Story Vault for more stories about family, justice, and second chances. Share this with someone who needs to hear that even when everything falls apart, you can still build something beautiful. Where are you watching from? What time is it where you are? Let me know in the comments. And remember, the truth might hurt, but lies hurt longer. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next story.